Hello, listeners. We are the Truth Seekers. Today, we are like to present a series of events comes by the name of South Africa's former president, the Mandela Effect. In this presentation, we will use the wake model to find out why the Mandela effect become a thing. We will integrate other examples to prove the effect is indeed everywhere. Then analyze reasons for its formation. Finally, create a new knowledge of the power of believing. Are you ready? You can pause the video and come back soon if you're afraid of seeking the truth. The wait is over. Let's seek the truth.
In the beginning of the presentation, I want to start with the W part of wake model. The Mandela effect is a kind of rumor or conspiracy theory. It refers to a situation in which many people believe that an event occurred when it did not. At present, the scientific community believes that this effect is a manifestation of false memory. The Mandela effect was first coined in 2009 by Fiona Broom. Broom was at a conference talking with other people about how she remembered the tragedy of former South African President Nelson Mandela's death in the prison in the 1980s. However, Nelson Mandela did not die in the 1980s in the prison. He passed away in 2013. As Broom began to talk to other people about her memories, she learned that she was not alone. Others remember seeing news coverage of his death as well as a speech by his widow. Broom was shocked that many people could remember the same event in such detail when it never happened.
Now I will integrate some examples of Mandela effect. A prominent example comes from a 2010 study of people familiar with the clock at Bologna Central Station, which was in August 1980 damaged in the Bologna massacre bombing. In the study, 92% of respondents remember that the clock had been stopped since the bombing, when in fact the clock was fixed shortly after the attack. Years later, the clock was started again and set to the time of the bombing to commemorate and remember the bombing. Pikachu's black tail is another example. I believe everyone has seen the Japanese cartoon Pokemon in childhood. The cartoon character Pikachu has lightning-shaped tail. In many people's memory, the color of Pikachu's tail is black, but actually is yellow. There are discrepancies in the memory of many netizens.
Now I will explain why the Mandela effect is happening. When people saw some phenomena they aren't familiar to, they might have some guesses to explain why the phenomenon is happening. The first cause that people guesses is about supernatural event. Some believe that the multiverses, which hasn't been proven yet, exist, and we may have alternative memories of other universes. Some even believe that the CERN, which is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator, will destroy other universes, causing everyone to have different memories of an event, which sounds kind of crazy. But when people are familiar with the phenomenon, they often have guesses that are not even logical or doesn't make sense anymore. Now it's a scientific research. Some psychologists have discovered why the Mandela effect is happening. When we ask a question, we might imply some detail, which may mislead the participants to have incorrect information. For one question, how many pieces of fragments are there in the picture of a car accident event in the last PPT? If you answer there are several fragments on the floor, then you are falling into a category of the Mandela effect. When we look at the next picture, actually there's no fragments at all in the floor. But when I ask the question whether there's a fragments, I already implied that there might have some pieces on the floor. That's the event that why Mandela effect is happening if we explain through the scientific research. Another experiment that the psychologists had performed is they let the participants to read an article about how Bugs Bunny taken pictures with other tourists in the Disneyland. After the participants read the article, the psychologist asked them whether they had taken a picture with Bugs Bunny in Disneyland. If you see Looney Tunes before, you must know that Bugs Bunny belonged to Looney Tunes instead of Disneyland, which means he would never show up in Disneyland. However, someone had actually answered they had taken a picture with Bugs Bunny after they read the article. So, when someone strongly implies to others with fake information, they might create an incorrect memory. Now we will elect Hua-Yong to share our thoughts about the high-order thinking of Mandela effect.
To my part, let me create a new knowledge by the power of believing. I would like to ask you to ask yourself a question. Is the Mandela effect really just a dream? Is it really just a false memory? Or is it that there is no such thing as false memory? In this section, I want to talk about the importance of believing and the power that it has. The truth is, we haven't invented the time machine yet, and no one knows if the past has ever happened. We don't even know how to observe the movement between the multiverse. It's like the saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Of course, I may have misused this phrase. We have to look in the exact opposite direction. Where there's a past, there is a may. We do not have any means of confirming the authenticity of the past. Thus, anything is possible, or perhaps the reality does not exist at all. What if there is no objective reality in the world? This is linked to idealism. Idealism asserts that all things in the world exist only in our mind. The closest idealism to our lives is Buddhism, or more precisely, Mahayana Buddhism. Vasubandhu's writings have mentioned that everything is consciousness only. If everything is a figment of our imagination, then the Mandela effect has its own authenticity. One of the recently popular and widely known quantum physics hypotheses has a famous story, Schrodinger's cat. The instability of quanta means that nothing can be determined without being observed. Overwhelmed by the new discovery, Schrödinger made up a story of a cat which has a 50% chance of death in the box. Without anyone opening the box, the cat should remain both dead and alive. I'm not a physics major, so this paragraph is likely to be misused too. What I'm trying to say is that when one believes in something, that something is really the truth in that person's world. On a scale of time, even if something is disproved in the future, it does not prove that it was not the truth at some point in the past. The Mandela effect, as the version of a fact known to many, is part of the world's truth. Maybe Mandela really died twice, as some people believes. And that's it for our presentation. And stay tuned if you want to find more truth in the future episode of Truth Seekers.